You might be wondering, why the am I not talking about resolutions until the second to last video of this entire series? Quick answer. Everybody does not have the same resolutions available to them. Whenever we talk resolutions, it is so based on your camera, probably more than anything else we're talking about. The two things that are really based on your camera in this series are color profiles and resolution. Color profiles, you can kind of mock different ones depending on your camera, but resolutions, you can't fake a resolution. If your camera only shoots 1080, you can't fake 4K. You can upscale it, but it's not gonna look as good. If your camera doesn't shoot 8K, well, you can't really fake it and add resolution to it. If you can, well, you are working some wizardry, and I don't think you should ever upgrade your camera ever again. Today, what we're gonna talk about are the 3 different kinds of resolutions and what can happen whenever you shoot in different resolutions in different frame rates. The 3 resolutions that we're gonna be talking about are 1080, 4K, and 6K or 8K, whatever the highest resolution you can shoot in on your camera. For me, it is 8K on my Canon R5. Why would I want to shoot in that? What's a way that I can use that to my advantage without having the insane file sizes? Why would I not want to shoot in that if I have it available? Let's start with 1080. 1080, your camera is going to have this. Your phone has it. Your camera probably will. Any camera you can buy today that's on the market can shoot 1080. This is considered HD, kind of getting phased out if you ask me, because 4K is so accessible now that there's no reason you really need 1080 that much. 1080 is going to be the lowest resolution of the 3. The reason you might want to shoot in 1080 is because you might not have 60 frames per second in 4K. You might only have 60 frames per second or slow-mo options in 1080. So that's whenever you would want to shoot in 1080. It might be annoying because your resolution will drop a little bit, but that is the only reason I can really think of that you'll want to shoot in 1080 today. It's the lowest resolution out of them, and all of your settings will stay the same if you're going from 4K to 1080. The camera settings stay the same, but it'll just be a lower pixel count. It'll be a lower quality. Now moving on to 4K. This right now is being filmed in 4K. This is probably the quality that you're going to be wanting to record in as much as you possibly can. The drawback from 4K to 1080 and also the drawback from 8K to 4K is the file sizes. One thing you'll find whenever you're recording in these different specs are that the file sizes get bigger and bigger. Whenever your frame rate goes up, whenever your resolution goes up, your file sizes will get bigger, which means more hard drives, more memory cards. Everything goes up as the quality goes up. It is what it is, cost of doing business. But 4K is going to be about 4,000 pixels horizontally. So 1080 is 1900 pixels horizontally. 4K is about 4,000. That's why it's called 4K. And it's going to be double the resolution of your 1080 files. So double the resolution, that means 2 pixels for every 1 that you have in 1080. Why wouldn't you want to shoot in it? If your camera allows you to do it, then shoot in 4K. If you don't have 4K 60, as I mentioned, if you want to shoot in slow-mo, go down to 1080. My original camera didn't shoot in 4K, which was the Canon 80D. And then my second camera was the Canon EOS R, which shot 4K up to 30 frames per second. Didn't shoot 4K 60 though. And then it shot 1080 60. So if I needed to shoot slow-mo, I was shooting in 1080. If I didn't need to shoot slow-mo, well, I was shooting in 4K. Another thing to realize is that if you're shooting on the Canon EOS R or the 5D series, I believe even the 1DX series, which are all older cameras, you might have a crop whenever you go to 4K. So this is a big drawback whenever it comes to 4K footage. Whenever you are using an older camera or a lower level camera that has a 4K option. So if you're shooting in 1080 on a full frame camera, well, you're gonna have the entire sensor. But if your camera that you have says that it has a crop sensor whenever you shoot in 4K, well, it's gonna crop it in by 1.6 or 1.8. The EOS R has a 1.8 crop when filming in 4K. So instead of being this entire frame, it's gonna crop it in like this, which is just so much tighter. If you're shooting on a 24mm lens with a 1.8 crop, you're gonna be at like a 40 something mil, low 40s, which is not a wide lens anymore. If If you're trying to shoot a wide real estate video, for example, and you're shooting at a 16 millimeter, and you have a 1.8 crop, well, it's not going to be wide enough to capture that wide perspective anymore. So you are going to have to stop down to 1080 so that you can use that full 16 millimeters. That is a reason you should upgrade if you're upgrading cameras. If you have a crop in 4K, I recommend save up, buy a camera that does not, so that you can have your lenses be usable in every single resolution on your camera. So now we're done with 4K and we're talking about 8K. 8K for me is my highest resolution. I'm filming in 24 frames per second right now. Why would I not want to film in 8K? I want the highest resolution, right? I want the highest quality, right? At some point, you gotta realize your file sizes are going to be absolutely gigantic if you're shooting at 8K all the time. You don't always need it. I filmed a commercial for Beyond Meat and Justin Fields. In that project, we recorded on both cameras 8K 24 frames per second the entire time. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. And the reason I did that is because who knows where that will end up. If it's on TV, I want it to hold up just as much as if it's on your TikTok feed. I want the quality of that video to be as high as I possibly can, but for the average interview, for the average talking head video, whenever I'm shooting 24 frames per second, I don't need 8K. 8K is going to be the highest resolution that I have available to me. Yes, it is twice the size as 4K. That means pretty much twice the file sizes because there's 2 pixels for every one. So 4K is 2 times bigger than 1080 and 8K is 2 times bigger than 4K. Wait until we get into the 16K grounds. I don't know anything about that. I don't even know if that exists. The biggest I can think of is 12K that I've seen, but that is just overkill. None of our screens can really portray that. You will be able to see a sharpness difference from 8K to 4K and 4K to 1080. Whenever you put a 1080 clip next to an 8K clip, you can see the difference. It is nice, for example, right now, I'm shooting in 4K. I can punch in a little bit and not lose much resolution. This brings me into how you can use these higher sensor resolutions to your advantage. So one of the ways you can use it to your advantage is if you're on the Canon R5 or different cameras. Now, I don't know how it works on other cameras, to be completely honest, but right now I'm shooting in the 4K HQ setting. 4K HQ is whenever it's pretty much recording in 8K, but I get a 4K file out of it. In camera, it records 8K and then down-reses it to 4K. So there's just more data in there. There's more information, and why not use that to your advantage? I'm with you. If you're saying, why would I not shoot in 8K if I have it available to me? This is kind of a workaround where you can film in 8K without the 8K file sizes. Still get that nice, sharp. I mean, look at how sharp this is. I'm punched in by 200% right now. It's beautiful still. It still holds up the resolution. Shoot in the sharpest resolution, and it's kind of a great, safe rule of thumb. So that's it for resolutions. That one is the second to last lesson that we'll be talking about. Quick recap, 1080 is the smallest. You might have to film in it to film in slow-mo, but if you have the same specs in 1080 as you do in 4K, well, just film in 4K. It'll look better, trust me. And then 4K, well, you're gonna want to shoot in this most of the time, in my opinion. 4K is the high quality right now that you don't have to really worry about any kind of downfall in resolution. So the last thing I really want to touch on is compression. This is very brief and just a very simple breakdown of what compression is, how it even works, why it happens. But compression is pretty much whenever your image breaks down because your frame rate is high and your resolution is as well. Some of these cameras can't write enough data onto your SD card or whatever it is, but still can record in these high frame rates. So if it's 1080 120 on specifically the Canon 1DX Mark II, you're not gonna have nearly as much data as you will if you're recording in 24 frames per second. Now, I know this probably isn't the right video to be recording in this, but it's something to keep in mind where if you're filming in 4K and you have 4K 60 or you have 1080 60, you'll probably have more data whenever you're filming 4K 60 over the 1080 60. Seems pretty simple, seems like common sense, but some of the cameras break down whenever your frame rate gets higher depending on the resolution you're shooting in. So you're gonna have more data to work with at 4K 24 than you will at 4K 120. how these cameras work, unless you're shooting on these cinema grade cameras. Well, if you're shooting on an R5 or something of that nature, just get used to that. You're gonna just have more data in the lower frame rates. Anyways, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you coming around for the 5th video. We got one more where we'll be talking about audio. It'll be a brief one, but audio is something that you'll need to do if you want to be a run and gun filmmaker. If you want to become a filmmaker, you need to know something about audio. Something at a bare minimum. You need to know it. So anyways, subscribe if you aren't already. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I appreciate you for sticking around. See you in the next video about audio.